press that light, because it goes off. Hello and welcome to Radull Live. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being patient. Today we were messed up, yes, first by Kenya Power, and then we had to sort ourselves out. But thank you so much for joining us on the show today. As I have been advertising, today I am with former FKF President and the current FKF aspirant, presidential aspirant, Sam Nyamweya. Sam, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Carol.
You're doing well?
Very well.
People are already very busy here on Facebook, saying they want nothing but the truth.
Of course, I always believe in the truth. You may call it arrogant, but it's the truth. I'm ready to speak the truth, Carol.
Sam, you have thrown your hat into the ring to say you want to be FKF president. It is something you mentioned from last year. You've been talking about it, and you've made it official now. But of course, the first reaction from many people, including myself, is the fact that you've had this chance before, and as far as we're concerned, you did not deliver. Based on that, why do you think you deserve another chance?
Well, Carol, you are entitled, and everybody else is entitled to say I did not deliver. But I delivered. You know, when I became president in 2011, it was through a very difficult circumstances. I had to fight a limited company, to remove a limited company which was controlling football, to an association in 2011. And when I became president, you know, everything was in shambles. I worked hard with my team and made sure things worked. And I believe, you know, things worked from 2011 to 2015. Things were working. Yeah?
Sam, I don't think things were working, because if I look at, first of all, and you've said it yourself, you came in already fighting with a limited. It was FKL at the time.
Yes.
You came in already fighting.
Yeah.
During your tenure, we had more and more court cases, including your vice president at the time, Sam Nyamweya, took you to court. One of your NEC members took you to court. And all this was revolving around corruption and how funds were being spent.
I don't think, Carol, you have your facts right. None of them took me to court. Cholet never took me to court. I don't know where you're getting that from.
They made accusations.
Those are accusations. You know, accusations are accusations. So you have to prove the accusations. And those ones who are accusing me eventually lost, and they apologized. I can tell you, Sam Cholet and Terry Hussein eventually apologized and wrote letters saying that they had been misled. So you can't call those accusations. You know, anybody, Carol, who is in a position of authority, you have to face all these accusations. Even if you are the president of this country, you face but those accusations must have facts. And I can tell you, I finished my tenure, and those accusations didn't have facts. During
your tenure, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong, FIFA gives the federation $250,000, that's 25 million shillings a year, which is supposed to be for development. Am I right?
You're right.
What did you use that money for during your tenure?
Carol, $250,000 is a peanut when you are running a federation, because that's about 21 million shillings then. When the rate was, you have the coaches, that money was not enough. And that's why, if you remember, when we had the World Cup we really complained very bitterly with the President Plata, so that the federation can get enough money. So that money was not enough, although the little money which we got.
Federation, the money is also supposed to be, well, primarily to be used for development of youth teams. I don't think I even heard of a youth team during your tenure.
Carol, you are not right. The money which we got from FIFA was not, we didn't have money to pay, but later on we paid.
Sam, you've mentioned you had SuperSport, you had GoTV. SuperSport, I believe, came under FKL, the previous administration, in 2000 and towards the end of 2007, 2008. That is when the SuperSport broadcasting partnership came. As far as I can remember, you actually clashed with the Kenyan Premier League over that SuperSport sponsorship and created tension to the point where you wanted to form your own league.
Well, Carol, I think you are privileged to partly work for SuperSport at that time. But let me tell you, when you are running a federation is in charge of football. And that is to say, even the Kenya Premier League is under the federation. So if the federation sees there are some things which are not going right, it is the duty of the federation to talk to the Premier League and make sure things are done right. I want to tell you that during my tenure, I had a relationship, although there were tensions at times, but we formed what we called the Joint Executive Committee between the Kenya Premier League and FKF, which basically was there to thrash out the problem. And we did it. We had constant meetings almost every week. And I can tell you, when you have a family, even you have a husband and children, there must be tension. But that tension was brought down, and in the meeting which we had with the Kenya Premier League, we managed to thrash out those problems.
My understanding, Sam, and you and I have clashed on numerous occasions. We've clashed, we've become friends, we've clashed, we've become friends. But you mentioned it just now as well, that the FKF is in charge of fraternity, have something to offer, and on a personal level, I feel your management style, and probably even the management style of the current president, is that of, I'm the boss and you're my subjects.
Well, that is, Caro, that's perception. I believe strongly, you may have your own way of saying things, but I worked very closely with my executive committee. I had a vice president, I had a woman in charge of league and the competitions, I had a person, Mukolo, who was in charge of referees. And the point is, when you are the president, sometimes people see you as if it's a one-man show. But I can tell you, underneath, it's not a one-man show. You have several committees, you have the person in charge of leagues and competition, in charge of referees. So that's why when you are in charge, basically that's the price you have to pay, Carol.
Let's talk a bit about Harambee Stars. When you took over, I believe we're around 130 in rankings. By the time you left, we're about 120 in rankings. We're beaten by the likes of Lesotho. There was almost no progress for Harambee Stars during your 4-year tenure, and this includes issues about allowances. I remember a 20-hour trip to, I think, was it Cape Verde?
Cape Verde,
It
yes.
was a qualifier where they were in some small plane for almost 20 hours and then had to play.
Yes.
And that seemed to be the norm during your tenure, that Harambee Stars were undergoing what I would call hard labor.
Caro, your facts are not right. When I took over, right, we were about 137. But when I left the office, we were number 90. That I can tell you. You can prove, those are documented things. So it's not right. When I left the office, it was number 90. Let me tell you, during my tenure, Caro, we didn't have any financing. There was no financing from government, and any financing from government was, you apply for 30 million shillings, you are given only 5-6 million shillings. It was frustration. So we had to look for finances. So we worked under extremely very difficult circumstances, as opposed to now, when the current federation, Caro, gets almost 100 million shillings. That's 100 million shillings a year. On top of that, you're getting some what we call bonuses. A lot of money, 6 times more than what we were getting. The government now fully finances the national team, fully, as opposed to during my time. If you look at the Sports Act now, it is the responsibility of the government to finance the national team. At my time, the government was not financing the national team. You ask for 25 million shillings, you are given 4 million shillings. So those are the difficult circumstances which my office went through. When we come to the situation of Cape Verde, and Carol, I want you and my listeners to be very clear about it. It was frustration. We applied for finance from the Minister of Sports in September. You know, you must give your budget to the ministry. I was frustrated by Mr. Wario and his peers. We were given money a day before we traveled on a Friday, and we are supposed to travel on Saturday. What can you do? I was being frustrated because with powerful people around us who wanted me out. So the only thing they can do is frustrating. Don't give him money. Give him money at the last day. The last day, all the tickets, Caro, we had booked were cancelled by Kenya Airways. We had booked tickets 3-4 weeks before. They were all cancelled. If you travel from here to Cape Verde, my friend, you have to pass through very long distances. So I had no choice but to hire a plane which took the team to Cape Verde. And had I not done that, Caro, my sister, the team would have not traveled. And I thank God, at least we were able to honor that much. And I think my opponents, including people in government, including Wario, including PS, they did not want me to succeed. That was the problem. So even if it were you, Caro, who is the president of the British, what can you do? You don't have money. You are getting money on a Friday evening at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. When do you get the tickets? So that was the problem. I've documented that effect when the money was released. So what can you do? Tomorrow you are the president of the federation. Caro, there's nothing you can do.
Sam, during your tenure, did you make any effort, and this is, you can also keep this in mind as we recognize that you want the seat back, did you make any effort to try and market the team to corporates? Because as we see all over the world, most national teams have sponsors that are not government. And I think our sport industry is too highly reliant on government, whereas there should be corporates lining up to sponsor a team that is well branded, well marketed, and performing well.
Well, Caro, I don't know, you are very experienced in sports. During my time, you know, I went even as far as getting the 540 sponsorship. You remember 540 sponsorship, where we had a plane from 540. At one time, it took our team to Comoros. So that one was one of the sponsors. We had the Go TV, which sponsored us. I can tell you, we had several sponsors who were even ready to come in, but sometimes because of financial problems, it was not easy. But we tried to get sponsors, I can tell you, besides government. We were not relying on government. We survived the 4 years without serious government support. As opposed to now, when I see the federation getting 244 million shillings, the highest amount which has never been gotten in this country since independence. If you go to my office, Hatimis office, Sambu's office, all combined from independence, they have never gotten 244 million shillings. So it is amazing that the government can spend that kind of money and no tangible results, unfortunately. Because if I took over and left the national team at 90, and then now with the serious funding, it is 108. It doesn't make sense.
I won't go into that 250 million because it only came a year ago. But what happened between your office and institutions like Safaricom? Because Safaricom used to run Sakata Ball. When they started, it was running extremely well. When you came into office, suddenly they started clashing with your office, and Safaricom folded that tournament for some years.
Let me tell you, Caro, I wish God blesses you. You run a federation. The Sakata Ball was cartels, siphoning money from Safaricom. I can tell you, it was a cartel. And even now it's a cartel. I stand to be corrected. When we took over, what happens is you cannot run a tournament without the full blessings of the federation. Sakata ball, Carol, money was going through what we call cartels, through agents. And what I did is, we sat with my National Executive Committee and told Safaricom, look, we have referees whom we train. And to train these referees takes a lot of money. So out of the money you are spending on Sakata, we want 10% administrative costs in writing. But these cartels who do not want any little cent to come to the federation started problems. Oh, they want bribes from Safaricom. You cannot go. You are not so stupid and a fool to go to Safaricom and ask for a bribe. Safaricom is a blue chip company where you cannot get a bribe from. So they started saying, oh, the president of the federation wanted a bribe from Safaricom. If you want a bribe from Safaricom, Safaricom will explode. Yeah? It will embarrass you. But nobody from Safaricom said that they wanted a bribe. What we wanted it is, even if I go back to the office today, if there is a sponsor running Sakata, some little money has to come to the federation, then we are able to train the staff, we are able to train the referees. Sakata, Caro, they use our referees. How do you train the referees? So that's what happened.
I won't go into that. In fact, I want us to take our first break so that we can breathe. I will see your comments in just a bit. And in the second half of the show, I'll also be taking phone calls. The number should be on your screen. So we'll still continue with this and more discussions. And I'll give Sam a chance to say what his plans are should he get the seat again. And we'll see you after the break.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Chechil. Welcome to my YouTube channel.
Sorry,
Most of us are back home. Not only footballers, even people who work, people are staying at home. So I want to share some of my home workouts that I do when I'm home. And I hope all of you are watching the social distancing, are sanitizing, and are staying home and staying safe. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, every Saturday 2 to 3 p.m. Radull live for Facebook and for Instagram. Have a lovely weekend. Have a good Friday and Easter Monday, and God bless you all, guys. Thank you.
Hello? Mutiso?
Yes.
Mutiso?
Hello, yes.
Hii mchezo ya mpira wachana, will suspend you, eh? Wachana mchezo ya mpira kabisa wewe.
Our president.
Kuwa profession, I will suspend you na utakuisha milele. Hii mambo unachingiza siasa, wewe unatakiwa kuwa neutral.
That's our president.
Huwezi unasema who are you endorsing? Na hata hiyo nini yako, we don't recognize you. Tumeandika barua hiyo organization yako ipotee kabisa.
All right, welcome back to Radull Live. I am here with former FKF President Sam Nyamweya. Sam, hello?
Yes, sir. Carol, I'm listening. I'm listening.
There is a phone call you once made to my friend Innocent Mutiso. Do you remember that phone call?
I remember, yes.
You remember that phone call?
Very well. I haven't forgotten.
When I listened to it, please put the microphone close so we can hear you.
Yes.
When I listened to it, it is, it sounds like you're bullying anyone who doesn't conform.
I'm listening.
Was it bullying or was it...
It was not bullying, Caro. You know, Innocent Mutiso, who is an old player, and who was also, I think, one of the officials of the players' union, was partisan. It was partisan. He started campaigning for my opponent, Nick Mwendwa. And he started going through the social media attacking me. Well, I'm a human being. And I was upset and called him and told him, listen, you be neutral. Don't support me. You be neutral because you are not supposed to be political. And that was the reason. I don't regret for that, but I also believe, even now, if we have players now, players are not supposed to be partisan. They are not supposed to be political. If you are a player, be neutral. Don't support Sam Nyamweya, don't support Nick Mwendwa or any other contestant.
But I don't see why that should be the case, because if I'm a player, even right now, if I'm a player under the current federation and I know I've not been paid, I know all these things have not happened, and I'm not happy with the administration, why can't I express how I feel?
No, Carol, the point is, he didn't have anything to complain about. He had not been, there was nothing he had to complain about, because you have to have a basis. Like now, I agree with you, if players have not been paid, then they can complain that we have not been paid. But then if there is nothing which has not happened, you have no reason to start being political. Let me tell you, for instance, Carol, I'm very, very, very disappointed on, sorry to get out of whatever. We have seen players who have gone to court in Kericho, trying to sue the chairman of the tribunal. It's not fair. The players should not be political. Whoever is using those players is making a mistake. We have a case in Kericho where 2 Premier League players have been used. Carol, that is not right, is not acceptable all over the world. FIFA does not accept it. English Premier League will not accept it.
Away from players, Sam, Innocent Mutiso at the time, I believe, was an official of the Kenya Footballers Welfare Association.
Yes.
But you went as far as saying you'll suspend him and you'll make sure the organization doesn't...
I don't think I'm suspending him. I don't know why you're bringing it, because if he was the chairman of the Kenya Football Welfare Association, he was part of the federation. So if you are part of the federation, you have an obligation of being neutral. You have an obligation of being neutral. Like a referees committee. If you are an employee of the federation, you are the chairman of the referees committee. You cannot be partisan. You may have a right of supporting whoever you want to support, but you cannot use your office. Sorry, Carol, it's not possible.
All right, I'll move away from that, because unfortunately for us, many of us, we felt that it was being arrogant and being a bit of a bully. And I'm not sure that is the kind of management style that we want in our football. But let's move away from that. When you left office and when the current office came into being, there are phone calls, but I'll take phone calls in the next segment. If you're watching, I'll take phone calls in the next segment. Nick Mwendwa's office said you left a bill of 180 million shillings.
108,
million shillings.
Mm. Yeah.
And I mean, you've been saying how they get money from the government and all these things, but they already started with a deficit of 180 million shillings. So if you were running the federation efficiently, how would you accumulate such a debt?
Carol, I think let us also be honest and realistic. You are running a federation. If you are running a federation, you are bound to have debts, you are bound to have assets. You cannot run a federation if you don't go into debt. So going into debt is part of the federation's responsibilities. When I took over from Hatimi, I had a debt of over 200 million shillings. I never complained. I never started saying, oh, these debts were from Hatimi. We started paying those debts. You know, when you hand over a federation, you hand over a federation with assets and liabilities. There's no way you can hand over assets without the liabilities. So 180 million shillings was not too much. Let me tell you, before Carol we left the office, we were expecting some receivables from FIFA, which was almost 100 million shillings, which had not been dispersed. That money had not been dispersed. We had also sponsors around who was supposed to pay us money. We had Go TV, who owed us about 18 million shillings. We had the Kenya Premier League, who was supposed to give us about 12 million shillings. So if that money had been paid, then the current office would have not
the Kenyan Premier League to give you 200 million from where?
Not 200 million, 14 million shillings.
Oh, 40 million.
14.
14.
Yeah, we had signed.
Okay.
We had signed. They were actually very nice. There was and whatever sponsorship they were getting, they were giving us a percentage. So when you take over federation, you cannot start complaining that I've taken a federation and I've taken over a debt of 100. The only thing you can complain if that debt is not properly documented. I took over. Come for instance, the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta. It takes over from President Nyamweya. Are you telling me the President Uhuru will start complaining that I took over debts from? It is his responsibility to pay those debts. So that is in order. Even him now, when he hands over, he will hand over with some debts, maybe 300-400 million shillings. The only thing is, if those debts are not properly accounted for. But if they are properly accounted for, there's nothing wrong with that.
I'll leave that to others to decide whether it was properly accounted for. Let's talk about the Radull issue, because you're the one who hired Radull. Yes, he got banned for some time, and at the time you hired another coach. How were you hiring, I believe it was Bobby Williamson, without properly getting out of a contract with Radull?
Well, Carol, you are one of the people who has been privileged to get a lot of information from the Federation. Radull Amroje, we never sacked him. He was suspended by CAF for almost over 1 year. As a responsible president, there's no way I can leave the national team without a coach for a year. It's not possible. What did I do? I spoke to Radull Amroje and I told him, my friend, since you have been suspended and we have gone to court, we will now employ a temporary coach. That was the understanding, a temporary coach. Once your suspension is lifted, we'll get you back. So I had a meeting with Radull Amroje with Bob Williamson, and both of them were in agreement. They were in agreement that Bob Williamson was just there until when Amroje is lifted, and that was understood. What happens? The case goes on. It goes on up to almost 2015 when I was leaving the office. So Radull was his suspension was lifted just about 2 weeks before I left the office. Carol, what did I do? I sat down with the Minister of Sports, Dr. Rio then, and the PS, because it's a government which was paying salaries. I told them, listen, my friends, I can tell you now, Bob Munro was a witness because Bob Munro was with me when I sat with Rio. I have to lift his suspension. And as I lift his suspension, I'm going to request you to pay Bob Williamson for the time he has worked, because Bob Williamson was agreeable. He said, if I'm paid for the time I've worked, I'll quit. And that's exactly what I did. And before I left the office, it's about 10 days, I wrote a letter to the ministry, I wrote a letter to the PS, to the minister, and I told them that we have now lifted the suspension of Radull Amroje. Carol, what happens? After the elections, when I was handing over, I handed over all the contracts of Radull Amroje, of Bob Williamson, and told Dick Mwendwa, this is the position of each and every coach. We have lifted the suspension of Radull Amroje, and what we have to do now is you reinstate Radull Amroje, pay Williamson his salary which he has worked for, and he takes off. And we agreed. And it was done. And it was done. When I was handing over, the media was there at the Nyaw Stadium. So I left. You cannot then blame me or my office, because what happened with the Nick Mwendwa, he started taking Amroje round. He never reinstated him. He sacked even Bob Williamson, and they brought him Kumbi from Kariobangi Sharks. So how do we come in? How do I come in? I have done what is precisely what is supposed to be done as a responsible president. I wrote a letter which I gave the ministry, which everybody is aware of, that I reinstated him. So it was the duty of the current former president. He's not the president now because his time is over. He should have done what? He should have reinstated him. And if he didn't want to reinstate him, well and good. He should have paid him his money and goes. Now Delam Roger goes to court. He goes to FIFA. He goes to CAS. And the amount of money, Carol, from the bloody 60 million shillings goes to 109 million shillings. It is even now increasing. So my office and myself as a responsible president, there's nothing for me to be blamed about.
I want us to take another break. When we come back, Sam, I'll give you a chance to tell us what you intend to do differently, given all the challenges you faced during your first term. And then I will read a few comments and take a few phone calls. So we'll see you guys after the break.
What could I have done if I reinstated him? I've got
It's good that we are at home right now. We are taking it easy. And the government has given directives. Stay at home, social distancing, wash your hands with soap and water, sanitize, a lot. This is for my fellow sportsmen and women. Sisi ni watu wa sporti, sasa nani anainterfere na maneno. So ni muhimu sana jamani, tunawe mikono, tukae na social distance na tukae nyumbani. Game najua ichezwi, no football, no rugby, no athletics, no sports in the world. Sports will come back, but your life is more important. So take care of your life. Guys, be good. Take a chill pill. Stay at home. Follow government directives for your own benefits.
Welcome back to Radull Live. Yes, I'm still here with former FKF President Sam Nyamweya and presidential aspirant for the FKF seat, Sam. Yeah. And guys, I want to get into some of these comments, but this show is in the afternoon. I'll have Ezekiel Mutua on my case. But I'll take your phone calls. There's someone really calling. I'll take your phone call just now. I do want to give Sam a chance, a breathing space. Sam.
Yes.
I need you to tell us, given that you in your first tenure, you've given us so many excuses why you didn't have funding, the government never supported you, times were tough, there were no corporates sponsoring the game. If you were given the seat now, what do you think you still have to offer Kenyan football?
Well, Caro, everything needs maturity. I don't say I never made mistakes. Mistakes are human. As any human being like you can make mistakes. But with the current situation where football is gone to the dogs, I can tell you that one of the things which has to be done is to start what we call grass football. And fortunately now, the government is supporting the grass football through a county. I will work very closely with the governors and the counties. I've seen counties. I've spoken to many of the governors. They are ready. They are ready if we have a good structure to support the grassroots football. I will also try to uplift the standard of women in this country. Caro, the current Starlets team which is there, that's my baby. I can tell you today. You may not support me for that, but I'm the one who laid the foundation. It's the same foundation which I laid after leaving the office. You know, you cannot qualify for Cup of Nations in 1 year. You can even see the coach, Ouma. I'm the one who appointed him. So I will do my best with the finance.
So let me just get it straight. You're taking credit for the achievements of Harambee Starlets?
I'm taking credit, of course.
Okay.
I laid the foundation. Even the national team. All these players, I nurtured them. Yeah? So that is one of the things which I can assure you. I will also work with my national executive committee and the county chairmen to make sure that there is football all over the country. The other thing is, with the funding from government, one of the things which I intend to do is what we call accountability. Accountability. Accountability number 1, accountability number 2, accountability number 3. All the county chairmen and secretaries must be accountable on how they. I'm not even going further, because after the government, there's no reason why we should rely on government. The government should be the least. We should least rely on government. We have to look for sponsors. We have to look for sponsors. That I can tell you. As we speak now, I'm going around with my friends. I've many friends in the corporate world. If they get a very organized federation, they will give sponsorships. You can see now there's nothing. There's no sponsor. There's nothing else. They are spending on. They are depending on the government. But that's one of the biggest things. Why should we go for government? The government. It's not up to the government to run football. It's up to the federation. You have to work with sponsors. That one I can tell you. With the corporate world now, although there are a few problems because of this corona, we will make sure that we look for sponsors to run the federation. I can tell you, the most important thing is to work with your people. You work with the people who are running the branches. Give them responsibilities. Support them. Make sure you go and see all these governors. Governors have funds. Yes.
In fact, let me take the first phone call, and then, oops, oh gosh, I think I cut him off. Sorry, if you've been calling, call again. I'm taking calls now. But what I was going to tell you, in terms of relying on the government and on the counties, and I'll give you an example. A year ago, both Kisumu County and Vihiga County, Kakamega County, all stepped up to help the teams. But because of the challenges within the government, we saw around August last year, there was no money being sent to the counties, and everything collapsed at county level. And that is the danger of relying on that. Let me just take the first call. Hello?
Is that Radull?
Yes, it is, but please put the volume down on your side.
Okay. Hello?
Yes.
I have reduced the volume.
Yes, please introduce yourself. What's your question?
My name is Jeff Aganda. I'm a producer. I produce programs for TV. Yeah. And I've just watched your show.
Do you have a question for Nyamweya?
Nyamweya. Yeah, I have a question for him.
Yes.
Nyamweya.
Yes, please.
He can hear you.
Okay. Are you going to improve the youth structures? Because I have been in Turkana.
Yes.
I have been in Moyale.
Yes.
I have been in Pokot areas. I have seen good footballers from those areas. Are you going to? Are you going to include them in the national team?
My brother, I think that is very important, and I can agree with you, because if you don't start what we call youth structures, you are wasting time, because that's where we nurture the talent from. And I believe strongly, I may be wrong, with the county, with the devolution now, it is important and it is helpful to start what we call youth structures. That will be our priority, my brother.
All right, the next call. Guys, if you're calling, please put the volume down on your side. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, what's your name and what's your question?
Maina 237 from Thika.
Yes, Maina from Thika.
And I have a certain team that we are playing at grassroots football.
Yes.
Nimeona siku hizi ni kama kuna kakitu wanachukua FKF, manake nafikiria bwana Sam Nyamweya angefaa kuachia wengine at least watuongoze, manake kuna wakati tulikuwa tumepewa pesa na FIFA ya kukuza vipaji kule mashinani. Hizo pesa hatuzioni, zinaenda namna gani, zinaenda wapi? Hiyo ningetaka anijibu, manake pesa zinakuja lakini hasitufikii.
Sasa unajua, you are asking a very good questions. You have elected the people huko chini mashinani. Kama pesa inakuja na haitumiki, uliza wale watu ambao umechagua. Kwa Thika tulikuwa na watu ambao wamechaguliwa kwa FKF. Kama tumetuma pesa imeenda mashinani na hiyo pesa haitumiki, ni vizuri wewe kuweka kelele. Uliza, tuambie national office, then we take action, brother.
Okay, we have another call here. Oh, goodness.
Should go on with
We have another call. Sorry?
It's okay.
Okay, you were telling us about the plans you have when you come back to office. Okay, wait. Let me take another call. Guys, when you're calling, please put the volume down on your side, so we can have a quick conversation. Hello?
Hello.
Yes.
Is it Carol?
Yes, it's Carol. What's your name?
My name is John.
John, what's your question for Sam Nyamweya?
My question is, when he was president, he always had wrangles with KPL.
Yes.
What is he trying to tell us, that when he gets into office, there will be no more wrangles? Even when he was in office, there was wrangles with KPL. Has he changed?
All right, thank you.
Can I answer?
Yes, you can, because you had problems with KPL.
Yeah,
before.
I can tell you there were problems, but those problems were sorted out. My brother John, and there was some little misunderstandings, which was sorted out. And even before I left the office, we had what we call an agreement, where I gave KPL authority to run football independently, although answerable to us. So that problem was not there. We ended very well. Up to now, they are actually using my agreement, which I and my team gave them. So that is not, even you, John, you cannot tell me that in your house you don't even have to quarrel with your wife. It happens. But quarreling is not important, but what is important is agreeing and sorting out the problem, which we sorted out. Thank you.
Sam, KPL's term comes to an end in, I believe it's August or September, early September this year.
Yeah.
If you came back as president, would you renew their contract?
Well, I will more than renew the contract. I've already said it. Because, frankly speaking, Carol, the KPL should run independently. It's easier to run independently, although answerable to us. I can tell you that I will be more than ready to renew the contract for another 5 or 10 years.
Do you think KPL has done a good job?
To me, KPL has done a good job. I don't think the federation, we had the capacity. I must be frank with you. We do not have the capacity of running KPL. There are a few problems here and there which needs to be polished, but they have done a good job. We have a commodity which at one time was the best commodity in Africa, one of the best in Africa. So they have done a good job. What they need is to be supported, to support them, look for sponsors, and give them an independence to run the league.
All right, I want us to take our third and final break, and when we come back, we'll have about 5 minutes or so. I'll allow Sam to give his parting shots. If there are any more calls, I will take a few calls before we wrap up for the day. So let's take our last break of the day. See you in a bit.
Hi guys, this is Radull here just to try and encourage you guys during these difficult times that the world is facing. Just want to encourage you guys by urging you to keep on keeping a positive mindset by just trying to find something that you can be genuinely grateful for each and every day. You know, for me, that has worked magic. You know, that one little thing that I look forward to each and every day is what has kept me going through every second, through every minute, through every hour, every day and week of this trying times, guys. Like today, just having the health of coming to the gym, even though our season has been halted by the COVID-19, just like any other leagues, coming in the gym, keeping fit, break a sweat, have a good workout is something that I'm extremely grateful for. So guys, just find something you can be grateful for. It will help you. It's really important. And as you do that, remember to keep on keeping safe, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, your neighbors, your countrymen. If you can, share the needs that you have with the less fortunate, those who have nothing at all. And also remember, for all your sports entertainment and updates, stay tuned here on Radull Live. And hopefully, guys, I hope to see you soon. Ciao, and God bless.
My name is Ronald Okoth from Sofapaka FC, also the founder of Arrow Sports, and you're watching Radull Live. Hashtag Radull Live.
Welcome back. We're just about to wrap up this 1 hour of Radull Live with the former FKF President Sam Nyamweya and aspirant, presidential aspirant. Now, there's something I want to get to here on Facebook. It is a comment from Titus Mulama, and he says, if you were to get another term, what would you do differently? And if you happen to lose, how are you going to contribute to the growth of the game? And this reminds me of the fact that I believe I have called you several times over the last couple of years an email activist, because I feel that you are ready to comment or criticize anything that happens, but was not really having a presence in the game. So if you come in, what will you do differently? And as Titus Mulama asks, if you lose, how will you contribute to the growth of the game?
Well, Carol, Titus Mulama, my player, I think he was my player during my time. And first of all, I want to correct this lady called Carol, that I'm an email activist. That's not right. You know, when someone takes over from you from an office, you don't now start to mess him up. You give him his space. And that's exactly what I did. I gave Nick Mwendwa his space. And whatever contribution I was doing it quietly. And I did a lot of it. Go to Kitale, go to everywhere. I have supported very many teams quietly. But I didn't want to announce it, because when you start announcing it and somebody's in the office, Carol will start saying, oh, this man does not want to allow me, does not want to give me space. So I want to tell Mulama, who was my player, the person I respect very highly, that losing is part of the game. And you know, as a sportsman, when you go to the field to play, you either win or lose. And if you lose, you can still support whoever has come in, so long as that person has won the election fairly, not through fraud, like what is being done now. You win an election fairly, you get the support. But you go through crooked ways, you want to rig an election, I can assure you, you'll get a lot of problems. But when someone wins an election fairly, like I did in 2011, you will be supported. I can tell you, Mulama and the people, that once you are in football, you don't have to be president. But if you are not president, then you can also support. And it's also important that whoever wins an election should also look for people who have been there before to assist them. I can assure you, Nick Mwendwa, who I mentored, I can tell you today, when I was handing over at Kasarani, everybody was there, and I told them, this is not a bed of roses. Please come to us when you want assistance. I can tell you, God is my witness, for the last 4 years, he has never even bothered to talk to me. He has never even bothered to talk to the former officials who are in the federation, because I would have assisted him. Even these cases of Amurochi and what have you, I would have assisted him. But he was too clever. He says he is his best advisor. He advised himself, and now he's in a hole. To get out of that hole is a problem.
I know I have my own issues.
You have your
Mwendwa,
no,
but in all fairness,
but it's okay. What I'm telling you, Carol, don't you didn't bring him here to shut me down. You brought him here to tell me that if you take over an office, please go to those people who are experienced and ask them for advice. If Nick Mwendwa came to me for advice, I would have done it for free, because football does not belong to Nick Mwendwa or Sam Nyamweya. Thank you.
But Sam, I don't blame Nick for not coming to you for advice. Nick came in after a very turbulent 4 years under you. So if I don't see that you didn't take Harambee Stars to AFCON, you didn't...
Carol, please give me a...
Sakafa, we've not even talked about Sakafa.
Carol, give me a break. Nick was part of the federation. Nick was working with us. So don't tell me that you get out of the bus and you say you are not in that. But I will tell you, was not Nick not
So
running.
you want to be so you want to put some of the blame of what didn't happen during your tenure on Nick Mwendwa?
No, it was part of me. So if there were problems being done there, then he ought to have told me. So the point is, you know where football is today. So let us not go into details.
I have my issues with Nick, but that is unfair. That is unfair.
Your issues are your issues.
That is unfair.
Your issues are your issues. But we cannot allow election to be rigged. We want election to be done fairly so that anybody wins elections.
I have another comment here from Musa Otieno. He says, "Hi Carol, Nyamweya did not pay me my salary for 3 years as an assistant coach for the national team."
Well, the young man, I also mentored him. But you cannot say Nyamweya did not pay him, the federation did not pay him. You know, we must differentiate the federation and Nyamweya. If you have something to pick up with me is if the federation did not have money, they did not have money. You have seen then Amroch has not been paid 100 million shillings. But now, if I did not pay you for 3 months, the federation which took over took you as well. So they ought to have paid you.
Okay, guys, I'm still taking your calls. The number's on the screen, 0795 510 160. We're almost about to wrap up, Nick. Sorry, Sam. Just very quickly, if you go back, what will you do to market the federation and the national team?
Well, Carol, marketing a federation, the national team, I want to assure you that the federation or Sam Nyamweya may not have the capacity of marketing the federation national team. What I intend to do is to go for those people who are qualified, you know, in the world of marketing, give them contracts, give them good commission, let them do the work for you. You have to outsource. Saying that we want to do it at the federation level, it's not possible, Carol. So I will outsource.
You would outsource marketing.
I will outsource marketing, yes.
Just let me take 1 or 2 more calls before we wrap up. Hello?
Hello.
What's your name and what's your question, please?
This is Innocent Mutiso.
Your friend. Yes, Innocent. A quick question, please.
It wasn't a quick one, actually, because I've followed the whole show, and Nyamweya is not being honest with football enthusiasts. He's been in the game since the late 90s. He has been fighting all the federations since then, and he was given a chance from 2011. And the first thing that he did was chase away Sakata Ball tournament, which came back during the current regime as Chapadimba. After that, he's saying right now in his manifesto that he's going to work with the former footballers. Yet he's on record with banning Sami Sholei and Dan Shikanda, who are former Kenya internationals, from all footballing activities because they questioned his integrity and his way of ruling the federation. After that, I'm also a former footballer, and he threatened me. I was a delegate then, and I had already retired from top flight football. A delegate, any delegate, according to the statutes that were there then, even now, any delegate can endorse any candidate for the top seat. And true to my word, I had called all the football, my office, we called all
that was KEFWA at the time, Footballers Welfare Association.
That was KEFWA at the time when I was chairman. We called a meeting for the board of members, and we had agreed. We called first the captains, who are the KPL captains and the NSL captains, and also the Women's League captains. And in the conference, we agreed to endorse Nick Mwendwa. It was not my decision individually. It was the will of the captains from the top flight teams and club captains.
Okay, Innocent, I'm going to keep you on hold. I just need Sam to come in because he has a right to also reply.
Yes.
Just keep on hold. Stay on hold.
Well, Mutiso, let us be very frank. You are a partisan. you supported Nick Mwenda, which is your right. You still support him. You are recently on social media attacking me, calling me names. You are talking about Sam Nyamweya and whoever you are talking about. I want you to differentiate Sam Nyamweya and the federation. If the federation suspends Sam Nyamweya, it's not Sam Nyamweya, it's a National Executive Committee. It is nonsensical for someone to say, oh, it is Sam Nyamweya who has suspended him. That I can tell you, I will not take it kindly. Number two, you are given money by Nick Mwenda to call those officials. They are the ones who told me.
Sam, if you don't have evidence.
No, and anyway, by him calling, campaigning for Nick Mwenda, it must have not been an accident. It must have been supported by Nick Mwenda. I can tell you. I may not have the evidence, but the same people whom we were with came out and say we have been given money by Mutiso. What do you expect? And then number two, please, you must differentiate the difference between Sam Nyamweya and the president of the federation. Any decision done by the executive committee is a collective decision. Sam Nyamweya was suspended by the National Executive Committee, not Sam Nyamweya.
Sam, can you say here that you've never given someone money to side with you?
I've never given, whoever who says I've given the money to side with me, have I ever given you money to side with me?
No, you tried once and I said
you have to bring evidence. I've never given anybody money. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I know as we are talking now, Mutiso, my player, you are supporting Nick Mwenda. I have no quarrel. It is your democratic right. If you are an individual now, you are supporting Nick Mwenda, support him. But you cannot use an organization which is part of the federation to attack a federation which you are a part of. That federation is wrong.
We've gone over that. We've gone over the phone call earlier in the show. Mutiso, did you have another comment before? Because we are actually out of time for the whole show.
Yes, I do.
Make it quick, please.
And I wanted to ask, why did he's saying that he solved the issues he had with KPL, and yet it needed the intervention of FIFA officials to come to Kenya and resolve all the hullabaloo against forming an 18-team league, of which he failed, but he decided to with his office. Because, you know, when you're the chairman, the buck stops with you. You cannot start saying that it is his office. He's part of the office, and he was the chairman. So it means the last word was with him. It's like when I was the chairman.
Get to the question, Innocent. I don't want time to run out before you've got to the question.
The question is, why were there two Kenya Premier Leagues in the year 2015? The FKF Premier League and the Kenya Premier League.
I can tell you one of the things is that the beneficiary of those two leagues is Nick Mwenda. He also came from that to FKF Premier League. You are aware about it, and you cannot say why did we have it. If we had it, it was a decision of the National Executive Committee. And number two, you cannot say that FIFA had to come. Part of the FIFA's problems is to solve problems in associations, and Kenya is not exceptional. FIFA has sorted out problems all over. So when they came in, they did not say FKF was wrong. They told KPL that FKF is the one which runs the federation. So by you saying FIFA had to come in, it is the duty of FIFA to come in, as also it's the duty of the federation, if there's a problem in the branch, for us to go and sort out that problem in the branch. So we had two leagues in 2015, and the beneficiary of those two leagues is Kariobangi Football Club.
No, Sam,
which is your friend's club.
We're not going there. We're not going there. What was your relationship, now that you bring in FIFA, what was your relationship with Sepp Blatter? Because the understanding was, my understanding is Sepp Blatter has never cared about Africa. All he wants is votes from the African federations. And as a result, he looks after federation presidents in Africa.
Caro, you are wrong. I'm answering you.
Yes.
If there is one person who has supported African football, is Sepp Blatter. I can tell you, Sepp Blatter looked after the African football. In fact, he went out of his way, Caro, to give us World Cup in 2010 South Africa, as opposed to every Mzungu. So what is happening is, even when we went for elections, all the 53 African countries voted for him. He had a lot of soft spot towards Africa. So whatever you are being told about, he never bothered about Africa. Who ever thought that Africa, could host the World Cup?
My concern, Sam, about Sepp Blatter's reign is he seemed satisfied with the same 5 countries, 5 or thereabout countries representing the continent. And we never saw countries like Kenya, like Tanzania, like Uganda. There are certain countries we never saw grow out of during Sepp Blatter's reign.
Caro,
and I think the World Cup was a token.
Caro, I want to teach you now today. I want to give you a
teach me.
I want to teach you. Who brought the gold project? It is Sepp Blatter. Sepp Blatter is the one who started the gold projects. Like all over the world. You go to Rwanda, you go to Tanzania, you go to Uganda. Every country has benefited from the gold projects. That was never there before. Kenya, we have benefited. We benefited from the gold project here in Kasarani. We also benefited 100 million shillings gold project in Kisumu. And then the other gold project, unfortunately, which was given to Kenya recently, is the Obi Van of 125 million shillings. We don't know where it is. And that is part of Sepp Blatter's contribution to African football. I can tell you, Sepp Blatter supported African football.
All right, Sam, I think we need to wrap it here because we're done with an hour. I will allow you to give a parting shot. I don't want to see like I'm attacking or defending Nick Mwendwa. I think his issues, you keep bringing him up, but I think that is for a separate discussion for me, and that is for a separate campaign for you, because I think you should campaign by telling us what you will do, not what someone else has not done. But I have given you 1 hour to speak. I will give you another 2 minutes to give you a parting shot, and then we wrap the show.
Well, Carol, Kenya is a giant, and if you look at what's happening in Kenyan football, it needs a really very mature person who understands Kenya football outside the box. And if I become president, I'm not going to work as Sam Nyamweya. I'm going to work with a team. I will come with a superb team, which will help me. And I think Carol should be also part of that team. And even if he doesn't want, I'll tell her that Carol. You need teamwork, Carol. You need teamwork. You need teamwork. You don't teamwork when you are running a federation. Yeah. You are president of a federation. You need to work. You need to work with the KPL. You need to work with other. And I think also we should also professionalize the National Super League. I think it's high time, and the Women's Premier League. Caro, it is during my time when I was Secretary General of the Federation that we created the Premier League. It's during my time when we created the Women's Super League. It is during my time that we created the National Super League. It's on record. And I believe strongly with the good people we have in the country now. And I've seen a lot of people, not in Nairobi, who are ready now to run football. I will work as a team. As a team. I now know from Kisumu who can work, and I know from Mombasa who can work, from Kakamega who can work, from Nairobi who can work. It's a question of being the leader, the captain, not the one who runs the football. So I will do my best.
So you're saying you're a changed man?
You keep on maturing. You keep on maturing every day. Even you, Carol, you are not what you were 4 years ago. You think differently now.
Thank you for the 1 hour, Sam. Thank you for the job offer, but no thank you. I do wish you the best. People have heard. They'll make their own decisions. I could not read most of the comments because it's a family show. But thank you for honoring to come on Radull Live. I've asked some of the other candidates who have either ignored or said no. But thanks for coming, and yeah, I wish you the best. Thank you guys for watching.
I appreciate Carol, because it's important for people to understand, and what you are doing is a good job. Even if you don't take up my job, you can also give me someone else who can take up that job.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for coming, and guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next week. Hopefully Kenya Power doesn't mess us around again, and we'll see you next Saturday at 2 p.m. on Facebook and YouTube Live.